100 episodes here on the Elevated Life podcast. I can't believe it. It's finally here. Hey, we're Britt and Chris Carmichael, and you're listening to the Elevated Life podcast. Throughout the 13 years we've been together, we've never ceased in our endless quest to better ourselves.
We've studied top experts, philosophers, and gurus. After years of personal self-experimentation, we found the tools for shifting your beliefs, moving through fears, and developing a positive mindset.
If you're ready for a breakthrough, then you're in the right place, because we're here to empower you to take control of your life with simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation.
We'll be diving into topics like personal growth, health, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, success, and mindfulness.
So create some space for yourself and get comfy. It's time to become the badass you were born to be. I remember having a chat with our assistant who came on board to help us with these podcasts, and we were at about episode 52, like right in the middle, like somewhere in that. And she was saying, "Oh wow, we're not that far from 100." And I practically thought like, that's 52 episodes. There's about 50 episodes, something like that. 52 weeks in a year. Well, it'll be about a year. So yeah, we're not too far from it. So I loved her optimism in that. We just had a call this morning and celebrated our 100th episode together, and she is still on the team, and it's just so incredible to see how much growth has happened, not only in the last year, but the last 2 years. Because in 2020, we decided to shift and pivot with the rest of the world, and we created this podcast. And it wasn't until our assistant at that time suggested it. She said, "Hey, Britt, you and Chris have been doing live videos on Facebook for a couple years now, and people are really into podcasts. I think we should take some of those episodes and create a podcast." And without Sharon's help in the beginning, we would have never started this journey. So big shout out to Sharon and Anna, who have helped us to create this podcast, to get it out to you guys each week. Every Friday, we're here dropping wisdom, and this is going to be an episode of celebration and of what it's like to pursue your goals and to not give up, and how you can celebrate along the way.
You know, I think it's really important to realize that you're not just an island, right? It's not just you. Anything that comes out that's going to be great, you're going to have a team. You're going to have people in your corner. You're going to have people there cheering you on. You're going to have people out there coming up with ideas to support you when you fall down a little bit, to be there.
Thank you.
To be there during your successes too. And it's really important to start looking at who you've surrounded yourself with. You know, the old saying is so true. You know, you're a makeup of the 5 people around you. That's in business. That's in your personal relationships. I mean, it's everything. Who you surround yourself with becomes who you end up being, because they're going to influence you. And that's what good friends should do. Like, they should have an influence. They should be a positive influence. That's what we're trying to build here. And they should start to believe in your dreams. What I've loved about everyone that we've had on our team is that they believed in us. They saw what the mission was. They knew that we started the Elevated Life because we wanted to help people live better lives. Like, that's the whole goal. It's like, how can you get people to have a conversation about the way that they think and about the way that they feel and the way that they live their lives in a way that makes it improve? And so that to me has been the best thing about doing this, because podcasts are a labor of love. Anyone who is a content creator knows that it's not just sitting down and recording something and suddenly it happens. There's so much extra work that goes behind YouTube videos. There's so much extra work that goes behind having Facebook groups. Anytime you create content, I mean, it's a battle. And on the other side of that, there are all those messages that we've received over the couple of years that we've been doing podcasting, and hearing how people have changed their lives, hearing how people are doing new things. Maybe they've found a relationship that they've been really wanting to pursue. Maybe they got the dream job. Maybe they started their own business and quit a job. You know, hearing people's life stories and hearing them overcome challenges, hearing them have fears, but no longer care anymore and just decide, I'm going to do it anyways. Like, those stories are going to be the things that always light the fuel for whatever you're passionate about. So don't just sit in a room by yourself and think that you're going to change the world. You have to talk to people. You have to listen to what they're saying so that you can come out and be your best self. And to me, that's such a big thing of what I've learned over this experience.
You know, I also find people sitting in the corner thinking, does this even matter? Is another mindset that has come up. There's been so many times where Chris and I have looked at each other and recorded episodes or gone live or whatever and shared our message, and we look at each other like, is anyone even listening? Does anybody even care? And so it's really nice to be able to get to share our message, but also, like Chris said, to get that feedback, to know you're taking this wisdom and running with it, transforming your lives. And that is why we sit in our closet for countless hours sharing our life experience, what we have tried and tested on ourselves, on our clients, and it's just really nice to be able to share that wisdom to people who are open to receive it. I feel like the elevated life was born before its time. We were a little ahead of the game when it comes to, you know, the yoga, breathwork, and meditation. Not that we're the first to invent it. It's been around for thousands of years, but it seems though all the concepts that we've talked about on the elevated life are kind of like the woo-woo, outside the norm, like taboo topics that now I'm seeing after the 2020 shift is really starting to be a normal conversation where people are open to microdosing with mushrooms. They're not scared of having this conversation about mental health. They're looking for tools to calm anxiety and transform past traumas. We're not trying to hide from our darkness anymore. I feel like it was a great awakening in that sense.
And not only that, I feel so lucky that so many people have started doing something similar to what we do.
Yeah.
There are so many other helpers out there. There's so many people who have reached out to us to say, hey, I want to build a business too. Like, I'm interested in doing what you guys do. Can you explain, like, how does that work? And like, how could I get started? How would I coach people? How is it? I want to run retreats. And so it's been amazing because the more that you support people and the less you continue to be in competition with them and you start being more cooperative, you find that the message is bigger than just you, and that hope and love are messages that we need to all be sharing. Everyone is sitting around asking for your gift. So if you've been holding out because you're ahead of the game, or maybe people aren't talking about what you're talking about yet, or maybe there are a bunch of other people talking about it, but you want to do the same thing because it really lights you up, it's still a good thing to do. There's a million podcasts out there. There's a ton of YouTube channels. That doesn't make any of the single ones any less valuable. There are going to be people who jive with whatever it is you say. And maybe it's the way you deliver. Maybe it's the way that you look. Maybe it's who you grew up as. Maybe it's who you're becoming. And maybe it's the struggles that you've overcome. Whatever it is, use it. You don't have to have the same storyline, the same storyline as every other person. Like, be your unique self. The other thing that this experience has taught me, and why it's so important, and this is the thing that BRIT has taught me, if I could boil down what BRIT has taught me into one single thing, is that you have got to celebrate everything. Always be celebrating. That's the mantra you need to write up on the top of your door so that when you leave your house, you're celebrating. Wake up in the morning, you should see it somewhere written down. Always be celebrating. Life's too short. Start celebrating every single thing, all of it.
Oh, speaking of celebrating, tonight is my grandpa's 90th birthday celebration, and it's just so crazy to see his life over the last 9 decades unfold and all that he's gone through. He's such an inspiration in my life. So I just want to give a little shout out to my grandpa. Freaking 90, he's going to make it to 100, no doubt. So celebration is something that is so important because it's too easy, especially as an empath, to get caught up in the cycle of just negativity. And if you are interested, some of our top episodes are about manifestation, energetic protection. I think our second most popular episode is Why Empaths Attract Narcissists. And I have witnessed throughout my childhood, throughout the coaching clients that I work with, throughout my own personal life, so many empaths get caged in a way that makes them stop loving or celebrating to their full capacity. They feel like they can't be too big or too bright or too much. And when it comes to celebrating, it's so important to look for the silver lining, look for that thing to bring joy to, or to feel joy in every single moment. It's too easy to look at the negative. It's everywhere. But the same is true for the positive. And if you want to live a peaceful life, It's about shifting from that negative perspective, which is where I spent most of my childhood, most of my 20s. It took all this work that we share here on the Elevated Life for me to finally start to flip into a positive perspective. And I'll never forget, a childhood friend of mine said to me one time, "I don't know how you're happy all the time. You're always so positive. It must be exhausting." And that was when I knew that the work that I had put in, that did take effort, that was worth it, because I no longer feel exhausted. Whereas when I lived in anger, it was a constant battle and depleting my energy.
Yeah, and it's really because a lot of times when you get upset, you replay the thing in your mind. So whatever's making you upset, it's going to go on like a movie. And so it hits that loop and it hits that loop. And every time you experience it, your body re-goes through all of the stuff. It re-goes through all of the emotions. It re-goes all through all the negative experience. It goes back and looks in your memory bank and says, where have I experienced this kind of thing before? And what ended up happening? Was it good or not? And how should I feel about that? And do I need to be mad at somebody? Do I need to knock somebody out? It goes through all of that every single time. And so when you can start to push those things away from you, where you don't need them anymore, or maybe you're not so attached to being a victim anymore, then you can let that go. And what ends up happening is the space gets filled in by more positive feelings.
Oh, and doesn't that feel so good? It feels good to feel good.
You know what's really cool about it, though, is that it's work that you do yourself. Like, this is nothing that anyone can give you.
No one can do it for you.
Like, I wish
you can't buy it at Target.
I wish that you could hand out presents of just like, feel good. I wish that you could get to a spot where you could just let people know, like, hey, if I give this to you, everything will be all right. But that's not it. The people always have to overcome their own things.
You got to do the work.
Got to do the work.
And, that makes me think of our first episode that we recorded. It really was a recap of the last decade of our healing and transformation. That's essentially the title too, Healing, Transformation, and Enlightenment. It's been our path and our vulnerable sharing of what has worked for us, what doesn't work for us, and all the different tools from success to spirituality that we have had to learn, grow, and cultivate to be able to live a peaceful life, an elevated life. One of our most popular episodes is the 7 or above rule. And this is what the Elevated Life was founded on so many years ago. It almost was an accident that turned into our life mission and philosophy. One day, I'm sure you know the story, we were headed to Easter and I told him I don't really want to go. And he said, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you want to go? And I said, like a 6, not really, don't really want to go. He said, well, babe, we should never do anything less than a 7. We should always choose 7 or above for our life. And that was the moment that we began consciously creating our life. And so that tool has helped us and all of you who are listening to make choices that align with the life that you want to live.
So we really just want to tell you, thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for tuning in and listening. If this is your first episode, we're just as happy that you're here. If you've been with us since the beginning, thank you too. We didn't know where this journey was going to take us, and I cannot wait to figure out where it takes us from here. Because I think that if we look out into the future with a hope, if we look out into the future with, hey, what I'm going to do today is going to benefit me then, we can start to see something that brings us excitement and brings us joy and brings us something that we want to be part of. And that's how you start waking up in the morning excited. That's how you start going to bed at night fired up. You're like, man, look what I did all day. Look at the great work that I'm doing right now. Look how I feel inside. That person just told me they're having a great day because of something that I said, something that I did, something that I posted, something that we talked about, something that we are inspired by. And doing that kind of work feels so good.
It feels so good. I feel like we're on this loop of it feels good to feel good. I think because it's our 100th episode, you give yourself permission to feel even bigger. But one of the lessons I teach in my online program, Shine School, is to celebrate the small wins. Don't wait till your 100th episode to finally celebrate all the progress that it takes to get there. I can't tell you, living a 7 or above life, how many times I've asked Chris, hey, do you want to keep recording the podcast? Do you want to keep doing this? And we take a moment to consciously ask ourselves to check in and go, is this worth the work? Is the feedback, hiring out a team to help make it happen? So much goes into this. And every single time, obviously, because we're still here, we have said, yes, of course we want to keep doing this. So it's about constantly checking in with the things that once lit you up to make sure that you stay consistent with taking that action. And when you celebrate the small wins, it helps you to stay consistent so that you don't give up, because you're not waiting to feel proud of the progress until you get to a milestone.
Yeah, so to wrap up, think the people who are around you. Consciously decide, who is that team going to be for me? Find out what it is that does light you up and do it. Do it before you're ready. Do it before you even know how to do it. Do it when someone gives it to you as a suggestion. It's like, you know what? People will really like this. When you start hearing multiple people say that, you have to tune in. You have to go, wow, if that's right for me and if that aligns, let me just try it. And don't expect the beginning to be that good. The beginning almost always sucks because you fumble. You don't know what you're doing. And so it's okay to figure it out along the way. There's no shame in taking a pause. If you get burnout for a moment, if you're like, oh my gosh, this was a lot harder than I thought it would be, pull back for a minute. Recalculate. Don't just dump it and quit. Life's not for failures. Life's for people who are willing to fail to success. So find where you are inside. Find that core of who you are and deliver that out to other people. There are so many people who need exactly what it is that you have inside of you.
So stop judging yourself and just do the damn thing. Now, before we wrap up, I just want to throw it out there that Chris and I, before we got on the podcast, we're like, hey, it's our 100th episode, like birthday, gifts, celebration, like what can we do for them? So that's why we're going to give you a chance to win 1 year membership into the Elevated Life Club. If you haven't heard, we have a membership club, a monthly group coaching program for ongoing support and accountability. We also teach yoga and meditation inside the club to provide you tools to totally relax your mind, body, and up-level your spirit. So we want to give you access to win a 1 year membership that's worth almost $1,000. So all you have to do is leave a review for this podcast in the month of August and you'll be entered to win. If you want extra bonus points, tag us on Instagram, share our podcast, and let your friends know all about the wisdom that they can soak up here on the Elevated Life podcast. Again, thank you for being such an amazing part of this journey. We appreciate your support, and until then, we'll catch you in the next episode.
Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life podcast. Want more? Join us at theelevatedlifeclub.com for mindset upgrades, lifestyle hacks, and spiritual tools to elevate your soul.
Each month features a new masterclass, meditation, yoga practice, and more to help you transform your life one step at a time.
Come join the 7 or Above Club.